live video today, talking a little bit about some principles for violin and viola vibrato. Just had a request on a video talking about vibrato. It was Wolfhard Etude number 8, which is a slow one. And just in general, I thought it would be really valuable to talk about some of the principles, what you do for vibrato, how you build up vibrato. And yeah, so when we're doing vibrato on violin or viola, both of the shoulder instruments, we have this up on our shoulder, right? And since you're holding your violin in your hand here and then have to move your hand for vibrato, what you get is the difficulty of you have to be really good in your posture here. It can't be tight, it can't be tense. So one of the prerequisite things is you always have to make sure you've got that natural curvature in your wrist. I like to talk to students about how if you just let your hand hang by your side naturally, what you're going to find is that set of the muscles right there, those really relaxed set of muscles. And that allows for a lot of freedom of motion with fingers. And we want that same thing when we're up here. It's got that natural kind of straightness right there. The next thing that you need to make sure that you've got is an understanding of how to shift. At least this is the way that I like to do it. If you're shifting, moving up and down the neck, normally we would play and we would have, we've got this set for our fingers right here. But sometimes we that if I've got the need to move up higher, I'm going to be shifting, but I'm not going to be shifting by just moving my hand or fingers for the most part. We're actually moving everything together. Sumina Shakiran, she has a channel and she talked about how almost like you've got something you're grabbing here like a handkerchief that's pulling that way or pushing that way. You've got this whole thing moving together. I think of it like the action if you're got a shotgun, that everything is moving together on this right here. The reason for doing that when we're shifting, come back to vibrato in a second, the reason when we're doing that when we're shifting is your hand position, your shape doesn't change shape. With the exception, of course, up here, you have to do some funny things with your thumb to help you lift the instrument and then be able to reach up here. Even then, when you're up here, the basic set of your hand, the basic shape isn't changing too much. And that's why we like to do it this way. Now, I like to make sure students are doing shifting before they end up doing vibrato practice, because if you've got this basic feel of this motion, that's a lot of what vibrato is. Now, there are some exercises you can do for this, and one that is in a book I've got on my shelf over there. It's called waving to yourself. It's not really waving to yourself, it's like waving to some person off on your shoulder. You've got your instrument right here and you're feeling this right here. Now you also want to know where your muscles are actually doing stuff, which muscles, because I'm not pushing my wrist back and forth like this when I do this, ideally, because the muscles that do that they're not as fast. And if you're pushing those muscles back and forth, you're going to tense up here. And tension is the enemy of the vibrato. If we get tense and tight, it's not going to be loose enough and relaxed enough. So where we actually start is down here at this elbow joint. I take this and I push this back and forth. And I can control how that moves back and forth, but it's really starting down there. And so getting the feel of that, again, waving to yourself isn't quite an accurate description, but you get this feel right here as if you've got an instrument on your shoulder. Now, even that doesn't feel 100% like what it will up here, but getting the feeling is really important, because if you can get that feeling, it's like, oh, that's what that feels like. That's, I think, one of the big first goals that we have with vibrato. The next thing I'd say we want to do is an exercise called, in that same book I mentioned, I think it's Viva Vibrato, polishing the string. And I take then my hand and I'm just lightly back and forth, gently back and forth like this. I'm just barely touching the string with the finger. It's just polishing it. And I want that feel of really light touch just for the moment. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to make this motion smaller and smaller until I set my finger firm, not tight, firm in place, and I try and continue my arm motion I was just doing. And you'll see this starts to like let this finger sort of droop. As long as that finger is firm in place, it'll droop as it comes back, droop and come back. Now I'm making this look really easy, and it's because I've done a lot of vibrato already. I've done a lot with vibrato, and it does take a little bit of time to develop this. It's not like a right away thing. So one of the first things that you want to do is get the feel and make sure you come back to that feeling. What does this feel like when I do vibrato? Okay, feels, I get this strange sort of sense in my muscles. What are those doing? And when you get that feel of vibrato, then you can say, okay, now I'm going to try this. I'm going to see if I can get back to the feel. It feels like, okay, it feels like that. Now, you'll notice I'm not even picking up my bow right now, because you don't want your bow at first when you're doing vibrato, because the bow going like this in the hand, going like this, ends up being a, you know, rub your tummy, pat your head thing. You know, you sort of have to sort both of those motions out because they will kind of mimic each other. It's one of the frustrating things also about vibrato is that is the motion itself is so dramatically different from what you're going to be doing. Here is going to be so different from this. And you might find if you try and add your bow in, that all of a sudden your hand is trying to do this like what your bow is doing. Or your bow will go like this trying to do what that's doing. So I would say get the feel, get it moving, be like, oh, I can do that. I can get that feel. Yes, there's that vibrato. There's that vibrato. And then, and try and add your bow in. Yeah, if you can do that and you feel like, oh yeah, I can do both of them now, that's great. But at first you're going to find a struggle and you're going to fail with the bow, probably, possibly. It's very likely for you to fail with your bow or to fail with your fingers. You know, the vibrato won't stay. So then you take a second, you regroup, you come back to this feeling and try and add it in again and see if it'll stay. And if it doesn't, yeah, you know, shake out, try again by itself. Okay, we've got that feel, and then whatever note you play. And slow vibrato is the most important to start with. You don't want it really rapid just yet, because rapid will often lead to tightening up muscles. You want it loose, you want it relaxed, and starting with this will give you the feel of that finger. You'll also notice I don't have all of my fingers attached to here. I've lightened it just a little bit, like I've released some of this right here, so that then that's a little freer. Then I've got that little bit of vibrato. Now, long term, once you start to actually get the vibrato going, the next stage after that would be to develop your vibrato. And I want to mention just how cool vibrato is, because vibrato is such a powerful expressive tool. Pianists don't have it. Guitarists kind of have it a little bit. I say that, and I've seen some guitarists with a little bit of vibrato in there. There's a lot of instruments that don't have the same level of expressiveness because they don't have the vibrato as a natural part of their instrument. And what you get with vibrato is you get this, how slow it is, that gives it a different color. You also get how wide the vibrato is. A very narrow vibrato is a little bit, it's just a touch, right? It's just like a little flavoring of this vibrato versus a little faster, right? Narrow. That if you get a wider vibrato, slower vibrato, narrower vibrato, faster vibrato, you can do a lot of expression with that. And so when I was doing that other etude, that there's a lot of pun intended, a lot of wiggle room as far as how you can then stretch that, give it a little bit of energy, pull it back a little bit when you add this sort of expressive touch to it. That's just the gist of vibrato, some basics, principles, exercises, and then expansion beyond that. I hope it's helpful. If you want to see more specific things, leave a comment on this video, and make sure and like, subscribe. That helps me out so that I can devote more time to making videos for you when I get closer to actually earning a little bit of a stipend for all the work that I do on these. So I appreciate the thumbs up, appreciate subscribing, appreciate sharing as well. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.